The great ones, they're different. They really are. Not better, just different. Sure, there's a physical power, a mental strength, a complex but resolute constitution too. There's a whole lot more than just the measurables. That's something else, that intangible. It separates us from them. Welcome to the Legends series on Andy Raymond Unfiltered. 4 men only have represented Australia in 3 sports. It's an exclusive club. What follows is the most amazing insight into the most amazing of lives. But who is Michael Cleary?
Who is he? He's 81 years of age now. He was born in 30th of April 1940. This year I'm 81. And what a wonderful childhood. Growing up, father was pretty well off. Actually, I was born with a silver spoon in my mouth, but at a very early age he stuck it straight up my anus. So he brought me into the real world. We started at Dover Heights, renting a place, and then about 1944 he built a lovely place in Rodney Street, Dover Heights, which was right opposite the cliffs, right opposite the army camp. And we stayed there for, I think, about 12 months, and then I finished up getting evicted because when they put the blackouts on, I was sending SOS signals out the window. 1 dot, 2 dots, 3 dots, dash. And the colonel said to Dad, you're out. And Dad, you can't do that to me. He said, I'm going to go to my local member. He went to his local member, and the local member came back to Dad and said, you better get out there as quick as you can. He said, those imbecile kids of yours are sending SOS signals out to sea. When the submarines came into Sydney, and we were put down to a house which was down away from the waterfront, and that's where we stayed until the war was open. But I can still remember the submarines coming in and the bombs going off and all that sort of thing. But the funny thing about it, I was born with a few difficulties when I was a kid. I had 2 problems. One, I was ADD, and the other was I was just dyslexic. In those days, they didn't have definitions for it because a slow learner was defined as a hyperactive person. Yep. Or a dyslexic person was a slow learner. And the other problem I had, I was hypoactive, and they call that hypoactive. That's what I was. I just started running when I was a young bloke. I used to run from Dover Heights to Bondi, from Dover Heights to Vaucluse. I used to go down to Vaucluse bars when the picnic was on, the butcher's picnic. And I'd say my father was a butcher when he was actually a tailor. And I'd win all the foot races, and we'd sit on the sleepers in those days, and with my brother, and we'd eat chips and peanuts and everything I did as far as running was concerned. So then in 1946 I started at Christian Brothers Rose Bay, and then I moved to Waverley College in 1947. But there's a thing that happened in 1948, early 1948. There was a school assembly, and the Brother Lacey was the headmaster then. He brought back to the college a fellow by the name of Morris Carrotta, who'd just been selected in the 1948 Olympics. And he gave him a presentation of a travelling bag and a travelling rug and a Gladstone bag. And I remember we were standing on the tennis courts, which is now the swimming pool at Waverley College. And I looked up and I said, gee, that's nice. I'd like to do that one day. And I think that's what spurred me on. But that's as far as the memory goes back. And then I stayed at Waverley College, and I repeated a number of classes because of my problems. But every time I repeated, I finished up getting double digits when I passed because they were repeating. Because being dyslexic, you had a good memory. I couldn't read too well, but I had a good memory. And I did well until 6th class, until 13 years of age. They couldn't beat me. They couldn't beat me at anything. I could play golf, I could fight, I could run, I could play tennis. I was in the junior first 15 and then 11. And then it all vanished. Everything just left me, just left. I thought, what's wrong with me? And what happened was that I didn't grow. I was so small at 13 or 12 or 13 years of age that when you'd finish a race, we were only 75 yards in those days. I used to run under the tape. That's how small I was. I was ready for chest height.
Wow.
So from 13 till 16 and a half, I could not even get in a relay side. I couldn't do anything. And then all of a sudden I started to grow. My mother said to me, "Oh, you'll be right, love." She said, "I've never seen a small man with big feet. He'd take a size 10, so she was right. So at 16 and a half, I went in a 100-yard race and did a 10.6. I thought, gee, that was good.
Yes.
And then on the 17th of March, 17 years of age, the Cardinals Cup, the Sydney Sports Ground. Cardinals Cup, big all Catholic schools. And I ran a 9.8. All came back. Came back as quick as it left. Well, it was quick. It took a few years, but it came back. And from there, I was first 15 again, first 11, boxing champion, relay champion, handball champion, anything I took on with sport, I could do and I could handle. I wasn't too good at the scholastically. I only got 4 Bs for the leaving. I think I got the 4 Bs for turning up. Really, that's about all. But that was the part of the life. And then when I left school, I got expelled. Actually, I didn't leave. I got expelled because 3 mates of mine, we put a communist flag up the top of the school tower, and what happened was I used to go up there to do my study with the boarders, the night boarders. I'd get up there at 7 o'clock at night and come home at 9 o'clock. So the night before we organised the flag, I got up and changed the lock on the tower, put my own lock on it. At 10 o'clock the next day, up I went, pulled up this big communist flag, and the poor old brothers, they couldn't get it down. They were petrified. They couldn't get in because I had the key. So one brother took offence. It was Brother Spillane. I'll never forget it. He thought it was an insult to our religion. We didn't even know anything about insult to religion. We thought we were just having a bit of fun. So Brother O'Connor was then the headmaster, and Brother O'Connor came in and said, unless the person who did what has just happened owns up, the whole school will not do the leaving certificate. I can't do that. So I put my hand up and I said, "Brother, I did it." He said, "Right, well, you're out." And I went home to Dad and said, "I've just got expelled." He said, "What for?" And I told him. He said, "Well, it's not all your fault." I said, "No, it's not." I said, "There were 3 of us involved." I said, 3 mothers, actually. My mother wasn't involved, but because I had the key to the padlock, but one of the other boys' mothers guyed the sheet, and the other mother threw the hammer and sickle on it. So Dad went up to Brother O'Connor and said, "Now listen, he's not taking the rap. There's 2 others. If he goes, they all go." And Brother O'Connor said, "Oh, all right, we'll let him do his leaving, but he will not get his prizes. He won't get the Corbett Cup, Captain of Athletics, first 15. All the trophies were presented by the Cardinal Gilroy at the time." He said he will not go on stage and get his cups. And Dad said, "Oh, that's fine." So in any case, the last day of school, Brother O'Connor called me down and handed me a big Corbett Cup, which is the Sportsman of the Year, and all the athletic ones. And I finished up going over through Waverley Park with a push bike carrying these cups. I don't know how I made it, but I've got them home. I've got them downstairs in the garage where I live here now.
Wow.
So then I thought, well, what am I going to do? I said, I'm going to try for the Rome Olympics. That'll be my go. I'll have a go at that. So, they were in 1960. This is 1958. I've left. So end of 58, nearly on to 1959. So I started training and was running at the ES Marks and performing okay. Then I got a problem of some sort. Don't know what it was. I left my old man's shop. I used to work for him. He paid me £12.10 a week and took 10% out for board. And I said, "Dad, it's not enough money. I need to get some more money." He said, "Well, get off your bum and go and get yourself a good job." So I went down to a firm called Colonial Sales who sold Arrow shirts. And I got a job there at 23 quid a week. And I was working all the North Shore and also Wollongong and the city areas. So I started with them. And I found myself when I was driving around in their car, the company car, that if I go to Parramatta or David Jones, for argument's sake, I'd park in the car park and I'd fall asleep.
Any elite athlete will tell you it takes more than just being physically fit to be at your best. And our friends at Galaxy Finance can have you at the top of your financial game. From home loans to investments and self-managed super funds, they provide complete solutions. Call Galaxy Finance on 1300 91 7740 and mention you heard it on Andy Raymond Unfiltered to get an obligation-free chat to see how Galaxy Finance can assist you.
My running started to go off. I wasn't performing too well, and I said to Dad again, I said, what am I going to do? He said, we better go and see this doctor, a doctor in Macquarie Street. So I went and saw him, and he said, well, I don't know really what's wrong with you. He said, give this pill I'm giving you. He said, take it an hour before you're going to run, will you? I said, okay. So I took the pill. I went back to see him the week later, and he said, how'd you go? I said, no good. He said, didn't the pill work? I said, no, it didn't. What was it? He said, it was Benzedrine. I was very lucky they didn't do the tests in those days, so it had no effect on me. He said, you've got glandular fever. And that's what I had, glandular fever. So for 9 months, I couldn't do anything. I just couldn't perform. It was during that period that Wally Maher and Cyril Towers, two great rugby stalwarts, came into Dad and Father's shop at Bondi Junction and said, would Michael come down and play for Randwick? Dad said, I don't know, I'll ask him. So Dad said, do you want to come down and play for Randwick? I said, oh yeah, I can't do anything else, I can't run, so I'll go down and play for Randwick, I'll probably get to third grade and everything. That year I got into first grade. I got 49 tries that year. I still hold the record down there for 7 tries in one game. That was Randwick against Eastwood. I missed the Rome Olympics. I got the glandular fever. The only thing wrong with it was they had a match race at the AJC, Randwick, to raise funds for the people going to the Rome Olympics. Jim McCann and Dennis Tipping and a couple of other blokes that I can't remember their names at this stage. The gun went. I won it. Oh, it was too late to be selected because they'd already selected the team, so I missed the Rome Olympics. I finished up playing with Randwick Rugby Union.
You won the premiership that year in 59.
Won the premiership, and then I finished up getting selected to play against Fiji, and then against France. Went to South Africa with a rugby side, 1961. What a tour that was. Dear, oh dear.
Mike, do you consider yourself an athlete that played footy or a footy player who also enjoyed athletics?
A bit of both. Athletics was actually my main event.
Yeah,
and I enjoyed that very much. Rugby union just came with athletics because they stuck me on the wing and they fed me the ball and I just ran with it. Sports to me was very important. I just couldn't think of anything else. I did even when I played tennis or the handball or anything. Anything to do with sport I could do. It was at that time when I lost my speed when I was 13, I can remember lining up for gymnastics that day, not gymnastics, PE teaching.
Yep.
And we was playing chasings and this fella broke away. I chased him. I couldn't catch him. He was a big, tall fella. I remember his name too. His name was Ronnie Blake. He was a policeman at Bondi Police Station. I said, gee, that's funny. I couldn't catch this bloke. And that was the start of the decline in athletics, and the sign that was given to me. So when I went away from to South Africa, we had to go to Adelaide and then we had to go to Western Australia and play there. We had Ocos Island, Mauritius, and then South Africa. We got off the plane. There was 4,000 people at the airport just to greet us. We were lucky to get to 700 at Coogee Oval. It was amazing.
The 1961 tour, the captain coach was the legendary Kenny Catchpole.
Yes.
In the side, amongst others, the Thornett brothers, Dick and John,
yes.
Jimmy Lenahan,
yes.
Tony Miller, John White.
What a side.
What a side that was. Yeah.
Oh, we still have reunions now and again. For old John Thornett, he's gone, and Dick's gone too, and all those boys have left us now. They were a side. They were. We didn't win. We didn't win. We didn't realise that Joburg was 6,500 feet above sea level. We couldn't breathe. And that was our first game. I remember I broke away there and I got caught from behind. I thought, what's going on here? And then we had the last test was down at Port Elizabeth. Well, I got a try down there because it's down at sea level. But the rest of the game in Vindhoek, place called Vindhoek, was the first game. And, of course, they told us about apartheid and how you've got to be very careful about apartheid and all that sort of thing. And we got the old DC-3 and flew up to a place called Vindhoek, which is like the Northern Territory.
Yeah.
And it looked out the plane window, and the only area of patch of green was the rugby field. The rest was all desert. So we got on the field, and I get finished up. Catch bowl says, "Come down. You go, stay blind. Come with me, and I'll give you the ball. You'll score under the post." So bang away it is. Got under the post, scored the try. On the way back, this coloured man, this is black fella actually. They call him coloured now. He's got a thimble full of tar. You're coloured. Yeah. And the coloured people used to sit at one end of the field, and all the Afrikaans used to have the other three sides. And this bloke jumped the fence and came running over and said, please sir, beat them, yes, please sir. And I said, well, we'll do our best. And during that incident, the policeman grabbed him and battened him and bludgeoned him, hit him over the head and he smashed him over the sideline. And Kenny Catchpole called us all together and said, come on, we mind our own business, sir. We mind our own business. And after the game was over, I said to the policeman, I said, what did you do that for? He said, man, you go, that one fella came over that last try. The next try, he said, the whole 3,000 would have come over the line. So we had to bring a stop to it. So I don't understand it. I don't agree with it, but I'll cop it. Yeah. You know? And that's the way we went. Of course, they had black buses and white buses, and the black buses used to come every 2 weeks. I think the white ones came every half hour. Now, it's all changed now.
Was it scary?
Oh, we were protected from it because the green jumper, I mean, the green blazer we had being Australian, we didn't have to pay for anything. I mean, we got $1 a day, 10 bob a day was our salary, $10. But I sold 4 test tickets, and I think I got 100 quid in those days each. Wow. That's the only man. And a lot of us, and I came back with some Krugerrands. That's a half ounce of pure gold.
Yeah.
And I only paid about 40 quid, $80.
Jeez.
They're worth 600 or 700. It's pure gold. And some bought diamond. A lot of them bought diamonds over there. You could buy them cheap. You get one carat for about 300 quid, $600.
It's a very different world to where you'd grown up and what you'd done in Australia, South Africa, for a young man on a rugby tour.
Oh, mate, it was unbelievable. It was after that tour when I came back. I mean, that's when the rugby league scouts came along.
Yeah.
And there was Canterbury, there was St George and South. And they rang Dad, and Dad said, they rang me, and I said, I don't think about it. Talk to my father. He did everything for me. And then he said, well, look, if you want to talk to Michael, you come to my home. He doesn't go to your boardroom.
Yep.
Come to my home. The others wouldn't come, and Joe Maloney, to his credit, he came. And he sat in the lounge room there, and he said, we'd like to come and play with South. He said, we've got a big winger, a big centre there to look after you for Kevin Longbottom. He's a great big fellow to look after you. They weren't doing too well then in those days. And he said, we've also signed Jimmy Lyle. Jimmy Lyle went to South Africa with us. And Dick Thornett then had turned to Parramatta. Yeah. He'd left to go to Parramatta. So I thought, well, I don't want to stay in rugby now, but I think, what else is there? There's only a trip to England, and I know there was a trip to England with the rugby league in 1963. So I said, well, look, the only problem I've got is I don't want any money. He said, you don't want what? I said, I don't want any money. I said, I miss the Rome Olympics and I want to go to the Commonwealth Games. And so Joe turned around and said, well, we don't have to pay any money then. I said, what? No one believes that, but that's the truth. They think my dad got the money, but Dad did not get the money.
So you actually played for nothing?
I actually played for nothing. I played for nothing. I think it was, he offered me 1,000 quid and £40 a win, 20 quid a draw, £10 a loss. That was, I said, I don't want any money. And the amateur stage was so protective in those days that I won the Frank Hyder the Man of the Match award. It was a Seiko watch, which was 25 quid. I couldn't take the watch because the amateur status, the limit was 18 quid, $36. If I'd have taken the watch of $50, it would have been the end of the world. I must admit I did get the watch later on, but I had to sign statutory declarations, which I did, and away I went across to the Commonwealth Games in '62 after the football season. Because that was my first year was playing for South in '62.
We hope you're enjoying Michael Cleary, the complete package. Still to come in this amazing 3-episode interview, the 1962 Commonwealth Games and the medal debacle, all in brawls at the SCG, and who was the greatest sledger. If you're enjoying, before you go, we'd love a 5-star rating and review on whatever podcast app you're listening on. We're giving away an unfiltered trucker's hat each week to the best review. Make sure you come back soon, legends. Welcome back to Andy Raymond Unfiltered, the Michael Cleary story. In part 1, the struggles of his early years and an amazing Wallaby tour of South Africa. The story continues. Where did you find the time?
I used to make the time.
Yeah.
I had a good job. I worked hard at the job. I finished at 5 o'clock. I went to training at Rushcutters Bay. I trained. That was my life, was training. I couldn't do anything. You couldn't give me a book to read because I couldn't read it. Couldn't do anything else. So that was the only thing I did. And I remember I got a pair of spikes made. I'd never heard of Adidas or Puma or any of that. I'd never heard of those. And I got these spikes made by a fellow called Smith, Lilydale Street at Marrickville. They were pure kangaroo hide, 1.5 inch spikes. Beautiful. Yeah. Oh, so soft and light and beautiful. I went up to Perth and we went to Geraldton the week before the games. I got on the showground at Geraldton. Equal the world record, 9.3 on a grass track.
9.3, 110 yards.
No, 100 yards. 100 yards, yeah, 100 yards. But then the big problem came that they wouldn't let us on the track at Perry Lakes. We had to train next door in the Cinders track. That was okay. But I didn't know what a tartan track was.
Therefore, you had the wrong spikes.
I didn't know, that's right. Concrete base with a tartan, grass track, grass tex on the top. I got on them with the spikes. I thought, they won't go in the ground. What's going on here? No one even told me to go to a garage and file them down or anything like that. I see all the English people and the bloody Canadians and all that taking their spikes out. They've got Adidas and Pumas and all those sort of equipment. We'd never heard of that, didn't know what they were. So I went in 100 yards. I ran a 9.4. And then by the time I got to the final, I got beaten in 9.6.
Yep.
But the funny part about it is when the finish line went up, Serafino Anteo from Kenya was first, Tommy Robinson from Bahamas second, and Gary Holsworth, Australia, third. The next day I went on television, Perth Sarati, Tony Madigan, a few other people, and they played the 100 yards final. And someone said, I don't know who it was, said, they've given the medal to the wrong fella. They said, yeah. They played that photo finish 7 times that Sunday. So then we're going out for the final of the 220, and I should have got a silver at the 220 because I called David Jones from England, got the second prize, and I beat him at Geraldton by a couple of yards, did it? No problem. So as we're going out, the round announcement says, oh, no, starter says on your marks, that's right, on your. Down we get, and then he's stand up, and announcement comes over, ladies and gentlemen, the judges have viewed the photo finish and realised there's been a mistake made, and it's Cleary, Australia third, not Holsworth. I said, I got no chance of getting on the dais. They couldn't get Holsworth's medal because he smelled a rat and he sent it home to his mother. So they couldn't get. So I've got the medal downstairs, and
Has Gary still got one?
Gary's got his, yeah. Gary's got his. Yeah. I don't know whether he claims it or not, but he sent it to his mother, so they couldn't get it back.
That's amazing to think that happened, isn't
and
it?
And what they did, I got one, and you have a look at the back of it, you can see they've scraped something up, some mistake, and then put mine over it. But I don't care, it's still my medal, it's beautiful.
That's right.
So then I came back from there and...
when you look back now, you're a very young man that's just toured South Africa, swapped professions. So you went from rugby union to rugby league, and then you're competing at the Commonwealth Games. This is all in the space of
18 months, 2 years. Yeah. But the funny part about it too, in 1959, I was offered a scholarship to go to Stanford University.
Things could have turned out very differently, couldn't they?
But I wouldn't have passed the entrance exam. I was stupid. But I still got the scholarship. And I said to Mum, I'm not going to go to America. I said, no way. So I turned it down. Thank God I did. And then I just carried on with the league and that. And when I came back for the Commonwealth Games, I had to go to. I think I played against England too that year, the 62. Yeah, it was 62.
Okay.
Yeah, Great Britain.
Yeah, it was
in rugby league
because that was your
right.
debut.
That's right. That was a big debut. And
actually, speaking of debuts, do you remember both your debuts? You played 6 tests for the Wallabies. You played 8 tests for Australia. Do you remember both debuts?
Yeah.
Very fondly, no doubt.
Well, the debut was against Fiji.
Yeah.
Rugby.
Mm.
Mark Joe Lavula. And you wouldn't believe it, when I went to England in 63, Joe Lavula was playing for Hull. And
wow.
Awisi Daiwai, who was a centre for Fiji, he was playing for Hull also in the centres. And that's why South picked me, actually, because in that test match against Fiji, I got knocked out. I came in off the wing, and Awisi Daiwai, as I went to go round, he threw his elbow out and hit me straight and knocked me out. And Maloney told me this. He said, they took on the sideline. I woke up on the sideline, and you went back on the field and you scored 3 tries. He said, so we thought you were going to be a good buy, which I was. I was a good buy, but those little instances, there's that, and then the one against England. The one against England was a beauty because they put Mike Sullivan. And Mike Sullivan was a tough little bugger.
Yeah.
Oh, he's a tough bugger. And they said, he's going to run all over you. I said, no, he's not. I said, So I remember we were attacking the Paddington Hill at the cricket ground. Sullivan came with the ball, came towards me, and I thought, you're not going to run round. I turned my back inside of the referee, and I duckled down. As he comes through, I went whack and hit him with a right hook straight up in the face, straight in the face. He never moved, never flat, never moved. I said, Christ, what's wrong with this bloke? So the game goes on. Second half, he's defending the Sheridan stand. And the bloke in the crowd threw an apple at him.
Wow.
An apple. I said, you beaut. The crowd are against him. They're all for me. And Mike Sullivan bent down to pick it up and ate it. He said to the bloke, thanks very much. They finished up cheering him. That's an old pro. See, he was an old pro. He was fast. He turned that into a great. They supported him then. So we lasted about 10 minutes that second half, and then there was an all-in brawl. And I'm in there, and Sullivan's got me, and I've got him, and I'm leading from the left, straight left, bang, bang, bang. Thank God there was a fence around there because I'd have finished up out in Moore Park Road because I just kept going backwards and backwards and backwards. And it was me and Sullivan. There was Irvine and Boston. Now, Boston was 6'6" or something, and Irvine was 5'6". Yeah. He got sent off. And McTeague and Hambley, we all got sent off. And, well, that was actually New South Wales, not the test match, New South Wales. But the funny part about it, when I went in the judiciary on the Monday, I said to Sullivan, I said, mate, I hit you in the mouth and you never flinched. He said, you got me a beauty. And he put his tongue out. He cut out his tongue right across. He had stitches on the top of his tongue. Wow. But he wasn't going to let me know that I heard him. We finished up good mates. He came back to Australia and he went and trained Junee. I picked him up at the airport and drove him to Junee and everything like that. He finished up working as in the prison section of England.
Okay.
Yeah.
What does being a dual international mean to you? How proud of you of that?
I'm more proud of being a triple.
Yeah.
I'm actually the only one living.
Okay, history lesson time.
Yeah.
I know you are one of 4 athletes to have represented Australia in 3 sports. One was your former teammate and rival Dickie Thornett.
Yes.
Another, the legendary Snowy Baker. Yourself, I can't find the 4th.
Wal Mackney. Snowy Baker did everything. He was an actor, and well, I was a male model too. But,
Yes.
you know, I could branded Michelle and hit him with a handbag and lift up your skirt and run and all that sort of thing. So, you know, but I made a lot of money out of that, you know. When I turned pro, I got £1,000. That was just $2,000. The day they're on 600,000 and 700,000. And I took on male modelling, and that was only through Tony Madigan, who was a light heavyweight champion and also a Golden Gloves champion I went to school with. I took up the modelling, and because the modelling was effeminate in those days, it wasn't taken on by footballers. But I did Ernest Siller suits. I did a milk ad with Nolene Batley at Luna Park. I did Country Life cigarettes. I couldn't go to air because I was only 23. You had to be over 24 to do a cigarette ad.
Is that right?
I did Thomson Ford too. Boat 1 Thomson Fords, selling cars. Now, I was getting £12,500 for that. I used to get a salary of about $7,000, and they gave me an LTD Ford.
That's starting to get serious, isn't it?
Yes, yeah. And, you know, I used to do the young man shop, Farmers Young Man Shop, and did all that. And I got Mick Vevers and Les Johns into it too. When I was working with FJ Palmers, they did a bit of modelling with me. So I did make every post a winner.
Any of your opponents on the rugby league field have a crack at you about being the male model?
Oh, they all did. They all did. Hitting with your handbag. I'd say, which one? The one on my arm or the one in the bank, you dickhead, you know. But actually, the worst one was Bobby Fulton, a great friend, a good friend of mine. But he was the best heckler you've ever. He was awful on the field. He'd say anything. You know, I've just been with your sister and all that sort of thing. oh yeah, okay, righto. But no, he was a good bloke, Bobby. Good bloke.
Griffin Air Conditioning offers the highest quality of air conditioning sales and service across the Sydney metropolitan area, providing installation and maintenance to commercial, domestic and industrial customers. Working with this team, you'll be guaranteed the latest services, technology and developments in the industry. Visit griffinair.com.au and tell them we sent you for a cool deal. The Kangaroo Tour of 1963-64, Arthur Summons was the captain coach, and Walsh was vice-captain. The playing group included names like Gasnier, Irvine, Kelly, Langlands, Raper, Ryan, Thornett. Quite possibly, Michael, the greatest assembly of players the game has seen.
It was. We won the Ashes the first time in 50 years. We won the Ashes.
Exactly right.
I'll never forget the first test at Wembley. Peter Diamond going down the passageway. Cliff Watson, he hit him in the chin. Said, "This is what you're going to get on the field." So they were tough blokes. He didn't mess around. I didn't get in a test side there. It was Irvine and Diamond got me in. I played a lot of the country games. It's a great experience. What the difference? But the difference coming from South Africa, rugby union.
Yeah.
It was like me coming from Waverley College and going to Redfern over to play for South.
Yeah.
I mean, came from Darling Point. We lived at Darling Point, which is a posh area, I think. Dad had the silver spoon in my bum, so that was all right. And then I go to Redfern Oval. And that's the best times I've ever had. They were the best team of blokes ever. We used to heckle each other. We call Eric Robinson, we call him My Man Friday. You know, he'd say, "Oh, you're white trash" and all that. And we'd laugh about it. We'd never ever thought we were being insulted. We remember one day we went up to Coolangatta for Surfers Paradise, and they said to Lapa Stewart, "You can't come into the beer garden because he's Aboriginal." He said, "If he doesn't come in, well, none of us go in." And they said, "Well, your response, you look after him." So we looked after him. He didn't cause any trouble. But, you know, because he was Aboriginal, they wouldn't let him in. But see, things have changed now, thank God.
Thankfully.
Yeah.
What stories and memories stand out from that Kangaroo tour?
Oh. Well, I bought a car. I bought a Humber Hawk. Cost me £12.10. 24 quid. £12.10, $24. 24 went to auction. it used to jump third gear, so I filled up the gearbox with banana skins, give a nice thick grease and got to get the noise down. I drove everywhere in the thing. Hey, well, I'll never forget the day they sent me I was a dirty for this particular day, so I had the car, so they said, you'll go down and do the washing. So, okay. They've got 24 jumpers down the laundromat outside Ilkley. It's halfway down. I've got the car. And I'm going to keep this clean for you, but the girl in the laundromat, she's got a good head. She should have been a nail. But she's a big lady. And I'm watching the tub go around, spin, and she said, would you like a cup of tea? I said, oh, yeah, I'll have a cup of tea. Upstairs for a cup of tea. She said, would you like a cuddle? I said, yeah, I'll have a cuddle. In any case, when we came down, she ironed all the jumpers and everything like that, made it all nice and clean and way back. As soon as I got back, the rotten bugger said to me, you're going back again. I said, what for? They said, this is the first time we've ever had the jumpers ironed. So I finished up to go back next week and get the jumpers all washed again. But those days you had to do your own washing.
Wow.
Yeah, today they don't even wash a thing. They've got the training gear. They don't even have to buy a pair of shoes or a pair of boots. It's all supplied.
Times are changing, aren't they?
Oh yeah, but ours were good times. But we had good times. Old Kelly and Brian Hambley and Langlands. Oh, I never bloody Langlands one day. God stripe, he was a cheeky bugger. We're down the shoe store down at Ilkley, and I was buying a pair of sneakers or something, I don't know, and Langlands came in the shop and he picked them up and threw them against the wall and said, what are you buying this crap for from this? Don't let this bloke sell you these things. And I grabbed him, I said, hey, listen, what's wrong with you? Said, what did you do that for? I said, he was doing nothing wrong. He put his head down, he felt embarrassed. He used to bang on a lot of side about him, but deep down he was a very humble, simple bug that used to cover up his embarrassment by being nasty and rude.
Wow.
Yeah, and I remember that. You know, they used to open the hotel every 4 years for the Australian side. No one else would stay there. It was a dilapidated old bloody place on the hills, on the moors of Ilkley. I remember one day we went upstairs up in the hills and pinched a sheep. Brought it down. I put it in Gasney and Diamond's room. And of course, it dropped everywhere, crap everywhere, all over his room and everything. Oh dear, things we used to do. But
your early years in rugby league were dominated by that wonderful St George Dragons side that won 11 premierships straight. But as the decade got towards its close, 1967, 1968, 1970, 3 premierships alongside your name.
Yeah.
Are they all as important and memorable as each other, or does one stand out?
Well, the loss against Balmain, that's
69,
that's pretty prominent in my mind, only because in those days, if someone was injured, the referee would stop play. And, of course, Balmain kept lying on the ground and stopping play, so we couldn't get momentum going. We just couldn't get going. And I remember poor old John O'Neill kept saying, come on, we've got these blokes stuff. Let's keep going. And he was still saying it when the bell had gone. It was too late. And a 65 one against St George, I remember that one too. That was great. That was something 73,000 people at the Sydney Cricket Ground on the roof.
That was the record-breaking day.
Oh yeah, they were on the sideline. They were up in the showground, up the stand there. They were everywhere. And I remember Jimmy Lyle early in the game said, come round me. So I was round him, I came and I looked up and there's Candos of Kevin Ryan, and my head came out my anus, fair dick, and I said, oh, what have I done here? You would have known 10 minutes later, Jimmy says, come round me. I said, get stuffed, I will. I'm not coming around. I said, poor old Jimmy. Jimmy had to do a turn and keep going himself. But they were a great side. Because of that day, it was an unlimited tackle rule.
That's right.
And then the 4 tackle rule came in, and then the 6 tackle rule. And then with Eric Simmons, they had to change the goal kicking from 2 points to 1 point because he kept dropping them from everywhere.
Amazing change in the space of 5 or 6 years, wasn't it? Because I think
it was only a matter of 2 years.
Unlimited tackle was 67, and then
it was 65 unlimited, and then they tried the 4 tackle rule, and that wasn't enough. Then they brought in the 6.
Yeah, amazing. They're still tinkering with the rules in 2021.
I know. They're talking about 1 point if it's in the 25, or 2 points if it's outside the 25. But I think it's going all right, rugby league, but it's a spectacle to watch.
Do you still watch it?
I do. I try to watch the rugby, and I tell you, that's boring. That's hopeless. I mean, I don't know what they're doing. Bloody scrums, it takes them 10 minutes to have a scrum, and then they repack it, and referees sending blokes off of high tackles and all that sort of thing. I mean, we used to run with their arm up in the air to stop the block of the stiff arm tackle. We knew how to protect ourselves. Mm. I've got there's three blokes that have, four people have had a real impact on my life. Of course, my father. Yep. And then there was Tony Madigan. Yeah. Doug Phillips. It was Doug Phillips who said to me when he was at the National Coursing Association, "Will you race Ken Irvine?" This is back in '63. Yeah. He said, "We'll give you £1,000 quid. $1,000 quid, $2,000 to ratch race." I said, "Oh yeah." I said to Kenny, "Do you want to be in it?" He said, "Yeah, I'll be in it." I said, "I'll give you 500. We'll get 500. He said, "Okay." Of course, that year before in England, Eddie Waring, who was called in the rugby league, said, "Will you race it?" I said, "I'm not going to race each other. We've got £1,000 quid at home. We're not going to race it here." He said, "Well, I'll race a car." I said, "All right, we'll get a car." So we got a Vauxhall Velox. We went to the White City. It was a road track around the fence. Yep. And Eddie had a Jaguar. He used to drive an automatic Jaguar, and they put him in this Vauxhall Velox, the manual change. We were running 60 yards. Ken did a 6.4 or something, and I did a 6.3. So wow. But all you could hear was Eddie Waring screeching the deer box. I mean, he was a hopeless driver, and I think that's why I ran so fast to keep away from him. And of course, Roderick Miller, that was a change in my life. Mm. What happens there, I'd left Colonial Sales and went to a firm called F.J. Palmer's, and I was there buying. I actually, I got the first Adidas agency for that shop. Wow! Got it for nothing. I organised it through David Jones, who was English, who was a rep in England for it. He gave me. I bought the 99 Spike, a Comet warm-up shoe, and then another pair of spikes. And I go to F.J. Palmer's. In any case, they were taken over around about 1965, and the receiver called me in. I'll never forget this. They said, "Michael, you are a luxury we cannot afford." So, redundance. Oh, dear. And I rang a mate of mine called Jack Green, famous horse trainer. Yeah. He's a scallywag mate of my father's, him and Eddie Stewart. And I said, "Jack, can I come down and see the Melbourne Cup?" He said, yeah, I'm training a horse called Strauss. I said, "Who owns Strauss?" He said, "Oh, Roderick Miller." I said, "Oh, does he?" I said, "I just went out to the brewery to see a fellow called Harry House to see if I get a job at the brewery." He said, "Well, why don't you come and see me?" I said, "Well, if I'm going to work at the brewery, I'm going to work with Harry." So when I got off the plane on the Monday, this is before the Tuesday, the Melbourne Cup, Jack had me in Roderick's office in Collins Street, Melbourne. And Roderick was an alcoholic, of course, and he was full as a boot. Okay. But a great man. He had all his scallywags mates around him, all the executives and all that sort of thing. I was in there at 4 o'clock. At 5 o'clock, he drung Menzies, he drung Askin, the Premier. He rang a fellow called Elliott, who was the head of the Waterside Workers Union. And then he said to me, "I've got to go to the toilet." He said, "Come with me." So well, we put his arm around me. He started to urinate. I said, "Oh, it's been nice." All over my foot and everything, but that didn't matter. And when I went back to his office, he said, "Now, son, you want a job, do you?" This is a good story. He said, "How much you want a week?" I said, "I'm getting 23 quid a week. I'd like £25 a week," which is good money when the basic wage was £18.10. Well, yeah, okay. 25 quid a week, that's $50 a week. Yep. He shook his head. He said, "No." I said, "Oh, God, what's happened here?" "No." He said, "Son, I'll give you 75 quid a week. I'm 25 years of age, 75 quid a week, $150 a week." Huge when everyone else was earning £18.10, $36, mate. Gee. I said, "Now, he said, have you got a car?" I said, "Oh, I've got a nice HQ Holden, blue one with white uphold, beautiful, white steering wheel, everything beautiful." He said, "Sell it." I said, "What?" I said, "Sell it." I said, "You get a car too." "Get your car." He said, "Because when I want you to tell you to go to Melbourne, I don't want you to tell me your car's broken down." He said, "You go to Melbourne, I tell you to go to Melbourne." So I rang Dad and I said, "Oh, crumbs. Son, is he fair? I said, "Yeah." He said, "Now listen, You come to the races with me and sit up here on the owner's stand with me. He said, now I want you to take my niece, look after her. I said, I said, well, Mr. Miller, I will not touch her. I will not go near her. He said, now you be in my office in Bridge Street on Monday, next Monday, 8 o'clock in the morning. Arrived there at 8 o'clock in the morning, called me in, don't know what to do. He said, go home and come back tomorrow. I've got a big salary and I've got a job yet.
Yeah.
So he called me back on the Tuesday I went back. He said, now what I want you to do is go behind the brewery, there's a semi-detached cottage. He said, there's a catering manager, stock controller, entertainment director, the engineer. You go and work for all them. So I learnt the trade. I learnt from everyone. It would start at 8 o'clock in the morning and I'd finish at 12 o'clock at night. Open pubs for him at Blacktown, Marryong, all those places.
Yeah.
So then about 68, I called Johnny Wade, who was the entertainment director, he died. He said, now you take over the entertainment. I said, Mr. Miller, I don't know anything about entertainment. Son, if they're playing in time with the till, you book them. So
that was it, yeah.
He said, I'll give you $1.5 million to spend, get me $3 million back. So I booked the Platters, and I did Billy Thorpe, the Aztecs.
Yeah.
I had them at the Oceanic. The Oceanic held 1,300 people. 3 o'clock on a Saturday afternoon, we'd have 1,300 people in that bar. I used to pay him 80 quid
Jeez.
for a spot, Billy Thorpe. 80 quid. His whole band. And they'd rock and roll there and they'd finish up at the Oceanic and then downstairs to the bar. Oh, we made money. Did we make some money? Then Roderick says to me, son, go and get me some hotel sites. He said, you know, we need 3 acres. I said, yeah, you have 3 acres. You've got 8 motels, you've got to have parking for 120 cars and your pub. Okay. Where do I start, Mr. Miller? Go down the waterboard, will you? Get a contact. Where do I go? Finish up getting a lady who happened to be Norm O'Neill's sister. Yeah. She was the private secretary of the chairman of the waterboard. I said, Mr. Miller, I've got a contact. What do I do now? Go and find out where the sewer lines are going, will you? Blacktown, Marryong, Mount Druitt, North St Mary's, Kingswood, pubs. We built pubs. It wasn't a house in sight. James Roos at Rouse Hill, 13 acres of land, not a house anywhere. The only thing there was a water tower. Now it's wall to wall. There's a big shopping centre opposite. It's the biggest centre you've ever seen. What a marvel. Then poor old Roderick dies. So then the wrestling came.
We hope you're enjoying Michael Cleary, The Complete Package. Still to come in this amazing 3-episode interview, modelling his frustrations and celebrations. If you're enjoying Before You Go, we'd love a 5-star rating and review on whatever podcast app you're listening on. We're giving away an unfiltered trucker's hat each week to the best review. Make sure you come back soon, legends. Welcome back to Andy Raymond Unfiltered, the Michael Cleary story. Previously, the tour of South Africa that stunned him, rugby league and rugby union moments that remain almost 60 years on. The story continues.
Did you go to wrestling or did wrestling come to you?
I used to, when I lived at Darling Point, Don Lane was living at Darling Point.
Yep.
He's a good mate of mine, Don. They said we were on together a couple of times. I said, no, we weren't. We may have danced together, but we weren't on together. So we used to go to the stadium on a Friday night.
Yeah.
And this particular day, Don gets introduced. The crowd screams, and I get introduced. They're all South supporters. They scream and yell and everything. So at half time, we're going out, and the fellow called Jim Barnett, who was the promoter,
Yes.
he said, my boy.
My boy.
My boy, I didn't think you were so popular. He said, you come up to my penthouse, will you, and we'll have a discussion. I said, I'm not going to your penthouse. You'll finish up on a dart me or something.
Yes.
And Don said, you can't say that. You can't say that. I said, I just said it. So in any case, he wanted me to come a referee, and I said, no. He said, well, you'll be an announcer, ring announcer. I said, yeah, well, I'll do that. They said, what do I do? He said, well, everything's a lock. Arm lock, leg lock, head lock, wrist lock.
Yep.
Everything's a lock. And a fellow called Roy Heflin, who was
Yes.
an old wrestler, Roy Heflin had a chart out, which had all the holes on it.
Okay.
So I studied the chart, used to sit it down in front of me, and that's how I finished up calling it.
King Curtis, Mark Lewin, Bulldog Bob Brower.
Oh, Bulldog now, the man of the hour, the eighth wonder of the world, Bulldog Brower. Used to get on the aeroplane, we'd go to Brisbane. He'd go, walking up the corridor, everyone used to poo himself in the bloody plane. Poor bloke is sitting alongside him because they all sat on the aisle. He'd be seeing him, he'd be sitting right over near the window. He wasn't going to sit near Brower. Oh, Big Bad John. Oh, dear, oh, Killer Carl Cox. Andre the Giant. Buddy, Andre the Giant, he was 7'6" or some funny thing. I said to him one day in an interview, I said, what do you have for breakfast? Thinking he's had a dozen eggs and 8 slices of bacon or something. He said, I don't eat breakfast. And I go numb. But he said, lunchtime I have three T-bone steaks. So he let me off the hook.
Back in that era, the wrestlers were extremely protective of their business. Did they allow you into that inner circle, or were you still on the outside?
No. They never always protected it.
Yeah.
I said, what is it? They said, it's ballroom dancing. One leads, the other follows. If you don't know how to dance, you'll get hurt. If I give you my arm, if I take your arm, you give it to me.
Yeah.
You don't. They didn't rehearse or anything. They were just professionals. They were ballroom dancers. They just knew what they were doing. And I remember one day I got up to Festival Hall in Brisbane.
Yep.
And the referee didn't turn up. Wallaby Bob, who played rugby union for Australia too, Wallaby Bob. He didn't turn up, so they said, you'll have to referee. I said, oh, okay. And this particular match, I was supposed to get picked up and back slammed and then get up and count the bloke out.
Yep.
Well, I got back slammed and it knocked me out. I couldn't get up, see. And they're yelling out at me, get up. And I finished up shaking their head, crawling home, bang, bang, bang. But they never told you anything. Never told you anything about it. They never spilt their guts about anything. Didn't rehearse it, but they knew how to dance, as I said.
Most say they're absolute gentlemen.
Yeah.
Tough guys.
Yeah,
but
nice
gentlemen.
guys. You know, a bit willing at time. Remember one day we were going up the coast from Brisbane. I remember Big Bad John, he pulled out a bloody joint, smoked a joint. I finished up as high as a kite by the time I got there, you know. I ran over a dog and everything.
It was the ticket in Sydney, wasn't it? The wrestling back in the day was huge.
We used to get a 14 rating. And poor old Ron Casey would follow us in.
Yep.
That used to, Wild World of Sports used to laugh when we come in. We just did a 14 rating on a Saturday at 12 o'clock.
Yep.
Till 1 o'clock.
Right after Joe the Gadget Man.
Yeah, Joe. Yeah. That's right, Joe the Gadget Man.
Dad tells a story about being at the Texas Tavern with Ray Stevens, the crippler. And because there was a genuine feeling of belief from the crowd that was watching the wrestling, they actually hated the Americans. And he was attacked with a knife in the middle of the Texas Tavern after the matches by someone that legitimately thought he'd...
They'd all drink down there. They used to get, I think they used to get something like 5,000 a week. But, you know, they used to do about 10 matches a week.
Back to footy, Mike. What are your memories of assisting in negotiating a TV rights deal for the rugby league?
But I remember when Packer asked me would I arrange a meeting with him and Ken Arthurson.
Yep.
I said, what do you mean arrange a meeting with you? He said, he told me to get stuff. Ken did. He said, yeah, I'll arrange a meeting. He said, I'll give you 20,000. I said, I'm working for him. I'm working at Sky Channel.
Yeah.
I said, I don't want 20,000. Okay. So I said, you ring me. I'll be down the farm. And so I rang down there, and the butler put me through to Packer. He was in the sauna or something. So I said, the meeting's arranged. So I said, next Tuesday in your office at some certain time it was. So in I go. Sat there, and Kenny Arthurson says, he says to Ken, how much do you want for the TV rights of the rugby league? He said, I want 8 million. He said, you want 8 million? He said, I wouldn't pay that. He said, I can put Disney on parade on a Sunday night and get myself a 23 points rating with Disney on parade. So he said to the other fellow in the room with me, Linton Taylor, you go and work it out and give him 5, will you? So I said, now what do you want me to do? He said, now listen, son, you've done what you had to do. As soon as he says the word son, you know it's the end of the conversation.
Okay.
Get out.
Yep.
So I said, right, I'm out. Didn't finish up doing the deal and getting $5 million for the TV rights. Now, this is back in
early 80s, which is in complete contrast to the early 70s. I'm going to say 72, perhaps, that the grand final was the only game televised that year because crowds had dwindled down, and the New South Wales Rugby League at the time said, no television, we want the crowds back at the games. Was that 72, you reckon?
Well, I left South in 71 and went to East.
Yep.
Yeah, I think probably about that time. Yeah.
Why the move from South to East? Because you'd won 3 premierships?
They didn't want me.
Is that what it was?
It was all over the Johnny Sattler's jaw broken.
Yep.
We're talking the famous grand final 1970, right?
And what happened then is Sats he said, never let your opponents know they've hurt you.
Yep.
And to his credit, he was out in the wing, out with me. And I said, what are you doing? He said, hold me up. So I grabbed his trousers, hold him up. I said, what's wrong? He said, I've broke my jaw. I said, oh, Christ, you better hold me up. I'm going to faint. So I held him up. And he ran in. To their credit, they tried to keep the ball away from him. He kept taking the ball up and up and up. And after the game, he made a speech, a victory speech and all that sort of thing. Then he went into hospital.
Yeah.
Went out to South Sydney and he went into intensive care. He was in the shock. And Donahue and the team of the directors had gone to the Chelsea restaurant at Illawarra to celebrate our victory.
Yep.
We were stuck at the club with cold beer and hot pies. And when they came back, I got into them. I said, you're a team of low mongrels.
Yeah.
I said, fair dinkum. Sattler's in hospital in intensive care. No one's in there to see him. You're at the Chelsea restaurant with your wives celebrating our victory.
Mm.
You're low mongrels. So did John O'Neill. His time got into them too.
Yeah. So
I went in there and it's the 70, my contract had expired. I'd negotiated a contract where I was on 3,000 signing on. Everyone else was on 4. Bernie Purcell brought in a system where if you played for New South Wales, you got 2,000.
Yep.
If you played for Sydney, it was 2,000. If you played for New South Wales, you got 3,000.
Yeah.
If you played for Australia, you got 4,000.
Okay.
But I negotiated a deal for 3,000 signing on, but $130 a win.
Okay.
Where everyone else was getting 80. So we were winning plenty then, so 130 was good. And I said, look, instead of giving me 130, I'll sign for the same contract, but as you put the playing fees up from 60 to 80 or whatever it is, I want 150. I want the 20 pound extra. Decimal carries. I want another 20. I want the 20. They said no. I said you're gonna not gonna give me $20. You're gonna bring someone down and put him in the Thoroughbred Motel at Randwick. It'll cost you $200 to put them up there to trial them, and you're going to. And they said, "Oh, you're a bad risk. We don't want you." So I rang up Ron Jones at the Eastern Suburbs and said, "Mate, do you want me over there?" He said, "Yeah, of course, yeah, we want you."
You're listening to Andy Raymond Unfiltered, the Legends series. We have corporate and private sponsorship packages available. You set the terms. For further information on how you can become part of the team, go to the website andyraymondunfiltered.com.au and hit the sponsorship tab.
Do you enjoy your year at the Roosters?
Oh, no, I found it hard.
Yeah.
I appreciate what they did for me, but I miss South. My loyalty was to South. I tried them inside out, but I couldn't do it.
Speaking to Bobby McCarthy recently, who obviously went and played 2 years at Canterbury, and he said, but I was a Souths guy. He said, it actually broke my heart. I would imagine it would be much the same for you.
It was the same. They were family to me.
Yeah.
Family, as I said, the Aboriginals and all of them, we were very close. The spectators, they were all so loyal. And here I was, I'm out in a limb on my own at Eastern Suburbs. Don Furner was the coach. He nearly killed me. I've never trained so hard in my life. Up and down. Don had this system too. If you had to do 4 laps, if one bloke lagged, you have to do another 4 because one bloke lagged. And we used to do this system. We run across the field, across the try line, down to the 25, down the 25, up to the halfway, down again, up to the 25. And I was lagging again. And he said, righto, Cleary lets you down again. Go and do it all again. I said, oh, okay.
So everyone got penalised for one guy?
Yeah, one guy. So I just said, I said to him, I had a 2-year contract. I said to Jonesy, I said, listen, mate, I can't handle it.
Yep.
I said, do you think I could give it away? He said, yeah, you can go. So I went, and that's when I bought the pub.
Did you retire too early or you'd lost
No,
interest?
I didn't. It was the right time. You knew.
You were 31, weren't you?
32 when I gave it away.
32.
31. I wasn't 71. I was 32 when I gave it away. I'd actually done a groin muscle in New Zealand at 60, 65,
Okay.
66, 67, 67, 68, I don't know what it was. I did it at Rotorua, and I carried that.
Who's the fastest you've seen on a football field, Mike,
Now,
in all your years?
we were, what I say, we, it was me, Dudley Towers.
Yep.
There's Moya, plenty of fast wingers then, but they weren't as fast as me because I used to mix both. I used to go to athletic training and rugby training. But I tell you, the bloke from Melbourne, he's pretty quick now.
Josh Adokar.
Yeah, Josh Adokar. Yeah, I'm good on memories, aren't I? Yeah, Josh. I've been watching him closely the last month actually before the season ended, and his defence is good and his speed is great. And he's going to get one more year at Melbourne and then come back to Canterbury or something.
Yeah, coming up to the Bulldogs.
Yeah.
Who do you like watching? Are there teams or are there players that you like watching in the modern game?
No, I just love the game. I reckon it's a great game to watch.
It is a good product, isn't it?
Good product. It's fast.
You're awarded the Officer of the Order of Australia in 1992. In 2000, you were awarded the Australian Sports Medal and inducted into the Sport Australia Hall of Fame. Wonderful recognition, Mike. What do they mean to you?
They were all a surprise, actually. I didn't. The Hall of Fame one was nice. The first one was Lindy, the Lindy Awards. It's amazing how gates have opened.
Yep.
Rugby union gate open. Athletics the gate open. Rugby league gate open. But they must have had some sort of ability to keep the gate open, to get in there. I had no degrees.
Yep.
Yeah, that's how I got involved in politics. Actually, it was in 1972 after South's collapse.
Yep.
I went back there with Dad, and I formed a business group with Johnny Reardon, my father, 4 other fellas, and then Pat Hills, who was a patron of South's, and then the leader of the opposition.
Yes.
At the meeting, the club to resave it, get it open again. Pat said to me, "Have you ever thought of going into politics?" I said, "Oh, no, that's not for me, not for me." It was Don Lane again, my old friend Don. He was at the meeting, and he turned around to me and said, "Michael, you're 31 years of age, but no degrees, but no education, but no business attributes or anything like that. You've just worked hard all your life." He said, "You want to reconsider that?" So I said to Pat, it's a funny story too. I said, "Okay, Pat, I'll do it. What do I do?" He said, "Well, you sign here first of all. You're living at Liguria Street."
Yep.
A mate of mine, so you had to have residential qualifications, so I was supposed to rent a room there.
Yeah.
And you're going to run for the seat of Coogee. I said, "Oh, okay." So I get on the phone, I ring my brother Dennis. I say, "Den." He said, "Yes, Mike, what's up?" I said, "I'm going into politics." He said, "Well, it's about time you did something like that." He said, "You lazy thing, about time you did something." I'm going to run for the Labor Party. He said, "Oh, good, okay." He said, "What seat?" I said, "I'm going for the seat of Coogee." He went, "Oh, shit. Oh, whoa. I said, "What do you mean, oh, shit?" He said, "I got pre-selection tomorrow for the seat of Coogee for the Liberal Party." And Dennis was a foundation member of the Liberal Party. He was he was a very astute businessman, Dennis. And I rang Pat. I said, I can't run. He said, "What do you mean you can't run? It's done. You've got to go. You've got to run." I said, "No, my brother's going for pre-selection for the Libs, for the seat of Coogee." He said, "Oh, you can beat him." I said, "How can I beat him? He's heavyweight boxing champion of New South Wales." I said, "He's captain of the surf club." I said, "He's playing for Randwick." I said, "We'll finish up on Belmore Road, belt and hell out of each other," because we used to fight like cat and dog. The Libs never picked him. They picked a fellow called Ross Freeman. 3 weeks later, he won the thing. And then I had to go and do a few things. And I had to go door knocking with Jack Ferguson around Coogee. And this is on a Saturday. So we started at the block of flats in Avoca Street and being, "Oh, Michael, we're just watching you on TV. The wrestling's on." "Oh, come on in. And Jack said, "Oh, bugger this. Let's go back to the pub. We'll go back to the pub and have a drink." And so we do. And I finished up. I won that by 35
votes.
Yeah, won the by-election. Then it went up to 6,500, so we had no trouble.
you'd become the New South Wales Minister for Sport and Recreation and Tourism with the Rand government, 81 to 1988. It's an amazing accomplishment for a young bloke that had dyslexia and ADHD. When we look back now, that is a wonderful story.
Well, I said I had a good memory.
Yep.
And that's the only time when I actually discovered the dyslexia.
Is it really?
Because when I was a minister, they prepared a speech for me.
Yep.
And I went home and I practiced it. But when I got in the chamber, it became all blurred. I couldn't read it.
An amazing time in sport globally, but Australia and New South Wales, those mid-80s, because so many sports were transitioning from training twice a week, a couple of dollars here and there, into what is now full-time professionalism. I mean, it was quite a brief for you.
Yeah, well, I enjoyed it because, as I said, Roderick Miller taught me common sense. I brought in pub tab, club tab, all those sports. We built the cricket ground, the sports ground. We built the sports ground, Parramatta Stadium. You know, we built Parramatta Stadium for $30 million. The replacement value was $748 million. We built it and we had the friends of Parramatta who wouldn't let us go over a certain height. Had to fight all that. And it was a good little stadium up there too.
Oh, it was a fabulous stadium, Parramatta.
But the new one's better.
It is gorgeous, isn't it?
It's better.
Yeah.
And now the old sports ground's coming down. They're building a new one there, and that's going to cost $800 million too. We built that for 62, not an ounce of government money. It was all from self-funding.
That was mid-80s because the first grand final there was like 1988, I recall.
Yeah, that's it.
What are you most proud of across your journey? Is there one achievement that stands out?
No, I just enjoyed life. I just enjoyed it. I never dreamt of anything was going to happen like it did. It just all happened. I think the 65 grand final against St George, I'll never forget that. Commonwealth games, I'll never forget that. The English tests, I'll never forget. Memories of South Sydney. When I arrived at South Sydney Redfern Oval, Dennis Donahue was the coach. He was drunk all the time, full as a boot. And I thought, what have I put myself into here?
Wow.
And then one game, I just get off him, Michelle, let him play the ball. And it was a bloody Darcy Lawler, the referee. I said, who speaks to you like that in this game?
The referee was sledging you.
Yeah, the referee. Oh, never. But what a year. That made me proud. That did. You never forget the memories of South Sydney and the Randwick boys too. We still the Randwick boys every second month. We have a coffee club at the Centennial Park. There's about 13 of us. We all get together. I'm 81. They're all about the same age. Some are older than that.
Have the stories got better over the years?
Yeah, of course they have.
Yes.
Of course they have. Of course our memory's gone.
You've had a wonderful career, one of so much variation from union to league, athletics, politics and beyond. Importantly, you've had an amazing impact on many. That continues to this very day. Michael Cleary, you, sir, are a legend.
Oh, what a lovely thing to say.
What a story, what an insight. We hope you enjoyed Michael Cleary, the complete package. That he was, that he is. Before you go, we'd love a 5-star rating and review on whatever podcast app you're listening on. We're giving away an unfiltered trucker's hat each week to the best review. Make sure you come back soon, legends.